Good evening. How are you? It is Thursday night, 12/15/2022. I am John Shink, the host of the Deerwood Realty live stream. Well, what is the Deerwood Realty live stream? It's just something I put together. It's about real estate and pop culture. Sometimes they mix. Sometimes there's some news there. But we try to figure out what's going on in the housing market in the United States all the time. We read stuff, and then I just happen to be. Did I say my name is John Shink? I don't even know. My name is John Shink. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. Small brokerage, residential. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. And so I take that, my day job, and then I put it into the live stream with information that I learn and read and, gather. And then the goal there is to help you, should you ever want to buy a home, sell a home, you have questions, probably put in the chat. I'd probably answer it. Could put in the comments. But we just look at what's going on in the marketplace and try and make sense of it all. I mean, let's do a classic example. In, I'd say, June and July, I'm sitting there showing houses to many buyers, and everyone's saying, you got to buy a house now. You got to buy a house now. Mortgage rates are low. Buy a house, buy a house. And I'm seeing buyers paying $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 over asking on a house. Okay. My buyers are getting thrown out. They're just getting blown out of the water, paying $20,000 over asking. I mean, they don't even come close to buying the house. And everyone says, oh, this is a great time to buy a house. How is it a great time to buy a house when you're paying $100,000 over asking? You say, well, with the low interest rates, it's still a deal. It's like, no, it's not. Some of those houses aren't worth that kind of money ever. But anyway, so I'm watching, and as a real estate agent, I've been doing this since I've been doing it for a long time. I'm guessing like 2006. I haven't checked recently, but it's been a long time, and I'm watching this happen. I'm like, man, this does seem like it happened before. But my buyers are like, John, what should we do? Should we quit? Should we give up? And I said, no. I said, there will be a house for you. It will come. It may not come this week. It may not come next week, but there's a house for you. And so that's what we did. And so for a lot of my buyers, we kind of waited out. I mean, we went and looked, and we made offers when we could, and we saw things that were a certain price. We would put an offer, but I just noticed I'm all got dog hair there. Sorry about that. Anyway, now the market's dead. So now we go in and buy a house. I've had like 6 closings in the past 2 months, which for some people isn't a big deal. But remember, I'm the only person in my brokerage. I think it's okay. The average real estate agent does 10 in a year. I got that beat. So anyway, that being said, we're in a new part of the market now. Like I said, the market's dead. Well, how do you know the market's dead? Well, when I list a property, nobody goes to see it. And you say, well, you priced it wrong. No. I didn't price it wrong. No one's going. I could have priced it 20% below what it's worth right now. And still, there's just no one there. And so this is something where the market's going to have to get used to, or at least sellers are going to have to get used to lowering prices. But, it's part of it. Right now is a good time to be a buyer. You say, it's not a good time to be a buyer. Or you say it's always a good time to be a buyer. I mean, there's certain times where it's like you should buy a house. I mean, if you've got life-changing events going on, if you're getting married, if you're having kids and you want to start a family, I mean, it's a great time to buy a house. It's always a great time to buy a house if it's for the right reasons. It's not a good time to buy a house if you think that prices are going to go up like 15% this year. Not a good time to buy a house. It's not a good time to buy a house if you can't afford the payments that have more than doubled since June and July. But I mean, that's the way the market is. And the way I plan to do this is when things go well, we'll talk about things going well. And when things are going badly, we'll talk about things that are going badly. But you have to understand, it depends on which side of the fence you're on. Right now, sellers are not happy because they're putting houses on the market for asking, and then no one's showing up. Okay, so they're like, well, this is a crappy market. Buyers are looking at what's on the market and saying those things are too expensive, and gosh, I can afford half the house I used to. So I don't want this house that we're looking at now. It's not nearly as good as the house that I could have afforded in June, in theory. So weird time in the marketplace, okay? And we're just going to navigate it. Today I put my live stream in the news and politics section. I've been messing around lately with the different categories. I don't know if it helps. I don't know. I don't know. Let me. Excuse me. I've been a little bit down as a YouTuber. My watch hours are going down. My views are going down. And it's like I'm not doing anything different than I was a while ago. So why is everything going down? Shouldn't it be going up? I mean, if you look at my show now from before, it's much, much better. It's much, much better. I'm much, much better than I was before. Now, am I the best? Probably not. Probably not in the best space right now. I'm just learning. I'm trying to figure it out. But to constantly go out there and just get hammered by the YouTube algorithm. I mean, if it's showing my video to like 14 people, that's not going to be a very good show. And you may say, well, John, your show's terrible. But I've seen other shows. I've seen other videos that get views. And I'm telling you, there's worse and they do much better. So I don't know what's going on. You may say, well, you're biased. Okay, I'm biased. I don't know. Anyway, so I've been a little bit depressed. So last night I did do a show, and tonight I did do a show. Tomorrow I'm going out of town. So it's the depression is not causing me to not do a show tomorrow. I'm just going to be out of town all the way till Sunday. If I feel like it, I'll hop on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening to do a stream. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. Today was we're going to have a floor update. The floor, if you haven't been following along, the kitchen sewer line, which is a smaller pipe that goes from the kitchen to the main in my basement, 2 holes in it. We cut that part of the pipe out, found more holes down the way. So the pipe needs replacement. And so I've been working on replacing the pipe. It's not fun. I have an insulated concrete floor with flooring that I actually like. And so I have to be very careful with what I do. There's door frames and stuff, so I can't just cut a trench. It's been tough. But I did get on to it today. I did that. I had a home inspection this afternoon for one of my buyers. Nice house. I hope they enjoy it. I hope it works out, that they can close on the deal. And then tomorrow I have a closing. So things are okay for me. Now, are they going to be okay for me next year? I don't know. This business is not very predictable. And like I told you last night, a lot of times when everyone's jumping into the market to be a real estate agent, that's not the time where I make money. That's the time where I just basically tread water until the market turns and gets rid of all the other real estate agents. And then I have a pretty good couple of weeks and a couple of years, maybe. And then it does it again. That's one thing I would say that I'm uncomfortable with as I've grown up. I don't know if it was true before, but now this will be the second time where housing is going to get crushed in my lifetime that I remember. And I don't really like these boom and bust cycles. I thought that's what the Federal Reserve was for. I thought the Federal Reserve was to moderate the economy so that we could have great economic prosperity. I don't feel like they do. I don't feel like they do a very good job at all. This should not have happened. So that's that. Let me tell you. Well, let's do a couple things. We're gonna do things a little bit differently tonight. We're gonna go over some articles first. We're gonna talk about the Freedom Factory and a zoning change that might affect the closing of the Freedom Factory. I would hate for that because I enjoy that scene. Fast cars, people building their own cars and having fun. The car community, if you will. We're going to talk about the economy with an article from Peter Schiff. We're going to talk about two odd things. People are always surprised that like real estate is, stolen from them, but we'll go over why that's not a surprise, how they do it. And then we'll talk about an article that was kind of interesting about collusion, or the class action suit for collusion in apartment rentals. We'll just go over that. We have some tweets. We're gonna switch. We're not gonna do the tweets first, even though I love the tweets. I feel like I didn't get to where I needed to get to last night as far as articles, and I do think we should go over that kind of stuff. I think that's the only way we can kind of learn. So the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight was something that I saw with a real estate agent recently, and it doesn't always happen. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it. And that's, I had an agent, I was listing a property for sale, and I had an agent. The first day I had it on the market, it had an offer, and there were showings scheduled throughout the day. Now some people showed up and some people didn't. But as the day progressed, I mean, by noon I had an offer, but I still had people scheduled to go, and so they, oddly enough, both two agents called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to show this," and I was like, "We better get to it quick because I've got this contract here. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good contract. I wasn't like bluffing or trying to elicit like a higher offer. I was just trying to be respectful to the other agents because I've been on the other end of where like you have a buyer and they're like, so excited to write an offer, and then by the time you write the offer, the deal's gone, the house is gone, and you're like, what the hell? It's very annoying. It's very annoying. So I told him, I said, look, I've got an offer. It's due by like 4. You're welcome to write before then. And so one of the agents said, hey, we're going to write. So I said, okay, good. And then the other agent said, hey, we're going to write. I said, well, look, then we're not going to take this other offer. We'll wait it out. So now the risk on my part as an agent is, look, whenever the best offer you have is the offer you have at hand most of the time. It's also most of the time the first offer you get. That's the way it was until the craziness of the summer. But I said, to my sellers, they were all for it. And so we went and we ended up getting a very good deal. Now, one of those agents that I was talking about went back to her office, wrote it out by hand, the whole offer, and sent it over. And one of the agents got the deal and the other agent didn't. So how do we look at this? Look, we look at it like this. The agent earned that deal. The buyers that she represented had the better offer. And so I want you to understand that agents do make a difference in real estate deals, a significant difference in how they do things. Some of the stuff that I do, I don't know. I know that it works based on the fact that I've done enough deals in the past. But when you are looking for an agent, you want someone that's done a lot of deals. Maybe not somebody that's jaded, because but you also want somebody that, and then so you say, how many deals is, I don't know. Just if you're in the business for a long time, that's typically helpful. Like if you just got your license last year, no. And just know real estate agents on both sides, on the listing side and on the buyer side, can screw up deals dramatically. So whichever side you're on, the one thing you can control is who you choose as a real estate agent. So you should pick one that you're comfortable with and know that they've done enough deals where they're not going to be surprised by anything that happens. Now, look, I'm always surprised by something that happens to our deal. There's never anything perfect. I'll tell you, on a recent deal, the management company was charging outrageous rates for resale certificates for condos. And then they were charging for other financial paperwork even more. It was ridiculous. It's about $500 just to get get the information that you would need to close on a home. So I mean, that's new to me. Normally, honestly, in most condos, I say, "Hey, I need this information." They're like, "Oh, sure, here you go. Good luck selling the house. Good luck selling the condo." Not these people. They were terrible. So anyway, bottom line is, an agent does matter. You may say that we're all, terrible people and whatever. Anyway, I just know, having watched this deal go down from the listing side, that agents do make a deal. Now, understand, your agent can do the best they can and still come up short. That's what happened to the other agent. She had a fine offer as well, but it's just one was better. One was better, and so for the other agent, I mean, she deserved to get the condo under contract as well. It just didn't happen, and you feel bad. I do, at least, because I feel like I've been on that side enough, especially over the summer. I'm there. Look, I'm going to do this a lot. I'm sorry, and I'm going to do this a lot because I was working in my basement, and it's very, very dusty. I was cutting concrete, and the dust was everywhere. I was wearing a mask and everything, but it was still just everywhere. And so, please forgive me if I offend you with scratching my nose or my eyes tonight. That's about it. I'm going to go into the articles now. It's annoying. Okay. The first thing I wanted to do was go over the rates for today. We are just doing things out of order tonight. I'm sorry. Here we go. We're going to Deerwood Realty, STL.com, and you will see the rates. 30-year fixed dropped 14 basis points to 6.13%. Now, look, I've talked about I'd like to be at 5.5% on a mortgage. I just feel like that's a fair number. I mean, if it starts going down enough, people are going to start jumping back in. National Association of Realtors has said that it'll be below 6 by then in 2023. I'm surprised by that. For a while, we were seeing a very big spread between the borrowing rate and the mortgage rate, which was uncharacteristic. It looks like now that wide space is getting a little tighter, which I think is a good thing. So we'll move on now. This is the Google Trends article. It is politics. We're going to look at it from a political and business perspective. I am blown away by this stupid move by a former president. It says Donald Trump's launch of $99 NFT sparks a 10% decline in Digital World SPAC linked to Truth Social. And says the Digital World acquisition fell 10% on Thursday after Donald Trump launched a line of $99 NFTs. Trump has teased a major announcement on Wednesday that led to a spike in Digital World stock price. Those gains were erased on Thursday as SPAC investors, I'm just going SPAC, digested Trump's NFT announcement. Now, look, Trump has had I think he had a line of ties. He had Trump University. That didn't go very well, I guess. Although I read some of the books by the guys that were in Trump University. I thought they were pretty interesting. And then I think he had steaks at one point in time, Trump steaks, and I know they had an airline at one point in time. He also had the casinos at one point in time. So, what would I say about Trump and his businesses? Well, he tries. Does he fail sometimes? Yes. This to me was ridiculous. Let's just look at the first paragraph. It says former President Donald Trump's launch of $99 digital NFTs failed to gin up excitement among investors in the digital world acquisition SPAC that is seeking to merge with Trump's Truth Social. Now, look, you cannot tell me that any president in our history, former president or current president, would try to sell NFTs. That's crazy. And then to try and sell them when the market for NFTs just blew up. It's like, what are you doing? It just doesn't show like a level of like I'm not the president, and I don't even invest in NFTs or Bitcoin or anything, but even I know the market's just totally dead on those. I mean, they just blew up once the Bitcoin bros just kind of ate it. Says shares of Digital World acquisition initially spiked as much as 10% on Wednesday after Trump teased a major announcement. The stock had a knack for rallying ahead of anticipated Trump rallies and other developments related to his 2024 reelection bid. It's very odd. Why would the stock rally on a rally? Like, a Trump rally. Like, why would it? What does that have to do with the True Social? As far as like subscribers, how much time they spend on the platform, etc. Says, but Digital World stock gave up all those gains on Thursday after the major announcement turned out to be the launch of Donald Trump digital trading card collection at a time when the crypto and NFT market has been decimated. That's exactly right. I mean, they have been decimated. Why are you coming out with this? Like this, if you came out with this maybe 4 months ago, maybe. I mean, what was the point? Like, I don't even understand. It says these limited edition cards feature amazing art of my life and career. Collect all of your favorite Trump digital trading cards. Very much like a baseball card, but hopefully much more exciting. Only $99 each. Would make a great Christmas gift. Don't wait. They will be gone, I believe, very quickly, Trump posted on Truth Social. Now, look, why the former president, who I criticized Drew Brees for having $160 million net worth, and he's out there hawking like gambling from Australia. I said that was in poor taste. I mean, seriously, how much is enough? This is also in poor taste. How much money is enough? How much wealth? How much fame? You're going to try to sell NFTs? It said, instead, investors likely wanted to hear from Trump either something related to his run for the U.S. presidency in 2024 or perhaps even more importantly, developments related to Truth Social and their pending merger with Digital World acquisition. The SPAC so far has been unable to obtain the necessary amount of shareholder votes to approve their proposed merger with Trump's social media company and Twitter competitor. Instead, SPAC secured enough votes to delay its merger deadline with Truth Social until 2023. If the SPAC fails to complete the merger by then, it will have to refund its investors $10 per share. The stock currently trades at around $20, suggesting 50% downside from the current levels if the deal doesn't go through. Now, to be fair, it spiked 10%. We don't know. I mean, I don't know what the symbol is for it. Let me see if I can. Okay, here you go. 20.14. I don't have a good, like, there's no, is this the graph? Okay. Here's the graph. I mean, you can see it's not doing well. I don't know why you would want to do volume. I would just do price. I don't even, Like literally, I don't even have a chart. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, did it go down that much? I mean, here in March, that's when it was doing well. Now it's like, ugh. So I'm just lackluster. I mean, is Barack Obama out there selling NFTs? Is Jimmy Carter out there selling NFTs? Is George Bush II selling NFTs? Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton, selling? I mean, no. Now, it just wasn't good. So I'm just saying it. Now I've seen somewhere where Trump did make an announcement on social media policies and stuff like that. It just seems like he's a step behind with everything. Not getting off to a good start, but who knows? Who knows? Now, I wanted to talk about this because I think people want to believe that buying a home is like a good thing, which it is, but that there's like no need to protect yourself over time from that purchase. And in St. Louis, just recently in the county, they've got this system that they're using to try and keep deeds from being stolen. And so we'll go over this article. I think this is a perfect example of right now what's happening in America with property deeds. And it's a weird thing because if you steal a car, the evidence that you've done so is that the car is missing. When you steal a deed, the house is still there. You just don't own it. Very scary stuff, and should be prosecuted heavily. However, I no longer think that prison time of any amount is sufficient deterrent to keep people from committing crimes. Like no one shoots somebody and says, "Oh, I could get 10 years or life in prison." They just shoot the person. There's not like a second layer of thought there. I don't know, maybe you think that's dumb. Put it in the comments, put it in the chat. Let's get going. Okay, here we go. It says 3 arrested in Queens deed thefts, 5 at large. Attorney General. The Attorney General alleges an 8-person ring stole homes worth $1 million. Now, just off the top of my head, 8-person ring stole homes worth $1 million total. It's not very much, especially in New York City, Queens. All right. Last month, Attorney General Letitia James called on New York lawmakers to consider deed theft a standalone crime to make it easier to bring offenders to justice. So if you bring them to justice again, is that not already illegal? It says, in the meantime, though, James is making do. The Attorney General's office said Friday it indicted 5 members of a deed theft ring for allegedly stealing 3 Queens homes worth more than $1 million, like total. So, I mean, just the math, like 350, 325, 330-ish, 332. They don't seem like the biggest, the most expensive houses. 3 of the ring members were arrested Thursday. Stacey Saunders, Anichki Hercules, and Jerry Curran were charged with money laundering, grand larceny, conspiracy, a scheme to defraud, forgery, and criminal impersonation, among other counts. Now, that seems like a lot. 2 others, Marcus Wilcher and Dean Lloyd, remain at large. 3 unnamed members of the ring have yet to been found, which is kind of interesting. It says the maximum sentence is 15 years, according to the Attorney General. So, again, if you can get away with it, is worth 15 years in jail. It says that now this is what I want to go over because this is how it happens. It says the scheme started in September of 2019 when Wiltshire began to identify rundown houses with absentee owners in Jamaica and St. Albans. Saunders would then market the Queen's homes to investors at cheap prices to spur quick sales. So, like, say a house is worth like $100,000 and you put it out to market for $50,000. You're going to get people to want to buy it because it's not out of the goodness of their heart that they're going there. They're going there to make money. Hercules, a disbarred lawyer. Now, this is the part that's a little dicey. So, we've got a disbarred lawyer. You know, you have to really, really do something to get disbarred. That one guy, I believe his name is Eric Sussman, that guy forged documents and emails, caused all kinds of problems with the Russian collusion. He didn't get anything, nothing. He wasn't disbarred or anything. Many attorneys should be disbarred for their actions. There's no question, but it just doesn't happen. The mechanism is, run by attorneys, and so they're loath to not protect their own. Anyway, he would forge legal documents such as driver's licenses and social security cards for the actual owners and assume the identity of a practicing attorney to send legal correspondent according to the indictment. So he's pretending to be a lawyer and he's not. For closings and contract signings, Wiltshire and Saunders would find people to impersonate the owners. Now, this is key. Now, this is one of the reasons why, like when I go to a title company for a closing, they want my ID or my buyers or sellers IDs. They want to match that with the information they have to prove it's that person. It says, in the theft of 121 Avenue, Kerr and a member of the homeowner's family played along with the scheme. Now, that to me is, a member of my own family is helping someone steal my deed to my house. The ring member appeared at the closing of his family home with someone pretending to be his sister and the executor of the family estate. That, I hate that person just for what they did. I just hate them. After the sales closed, the accused opened bank accounts in the names of the real owners and funneled more than $1 million in sales proceeds into them. Each of the homes was sold to a separate liability company. It says 339 176th Street went to a firm associated with BB Kahn, a real estate agent. 161 14 121 Avenue sold to a company associated with broker Mostek Ahmed, and 168 11 Avenue went to BJ Rising, BZ, which had no associated officer. It says Khan and Ahmed could not be reached for comment. Look, some of the things. So first, if a deal's too good to be true, is it? Oh, I think so. I think so. I really do. Now, would it be wrong for a real estate agent to buy a house that they saw on the MLS that was low priced? No. And then as far as, with the press saying, well, how do you feel about getting burned on your deal? I mean, how are you supposed to feel? Miserable. Anyway, don't steal real estate deeds. This is from Schiff Gold. Says, as expected, let's look at the title. The Fed hikes rates to the highest level since 2007. That's a big problem. As expected, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates by 50 basis points at the December Federal Open Market Committee meeting. That pushed the federal funds rate to 4.5%. The last time rates were this high was in 2007. That's bad news for the economy, or that's bad news for an economy addicted to easy money. While the pace of rate hikes slowed, the messaging coming out of the Fed was substantially the same as the November meeting. My understanding is the actual statement had one word that was changed between the November and December statement. Okay, here you go. Look at that. The official FOMC statement was nearly identical to the November statement. The committee only made some slight changes to the verbiage describing the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on the global economy. The messaging related to the future's trajectory of monetary policy was unchanged. The statement said the committee anticipates that ongoing increases in the target range will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. Now, there's been talk that the Fed is going to abandon their 2% target and go to a 4% target. I think that's crazy. I think that's ridiculous. I think that if they can't keep it at 2% now, there's no way they're keeping it at 4% or 6% or 8% or any percent. It also said the committee will continue to take into account cumulative tightening and the lags with which money policy affects economic activity and inflation as it makes future decisions. I think that they are already wrong. Just personally. In January, I was saying tighten. You've got to get a hold of this. It's getting out of hand. Nothing. Transitory. Inflation was transitory. As he did after the November meeting, Federal Reserve President Jerome Powell sounded a hawkish tone. He said, "We have more work to do," and emphasized that rates will move higher and stay higher longer than initially anticipated. My view and my colleagues' view is that this will take some time. We have a long ways to go to get back to price stability. That doesn't sound good. Let's continue. Powell also dismissed the notion that the central bank might cut rates next year. Powell claimed that the Fed has now pushed interest rates into restrictive territory, but it's unclear how he arrived at this conclusion. With the CPI still over 7%, real interest rates remain negative. That means that the Fed continues to run an accommodative monetary policy. Yes, the Fed has tightened significantly, but it's still behind the inflation curve. In effect, it has slowed the flow of gasoline in the inflammatory fire, but it continues to pour gasoline on the inflationary fire. When asked about the pain of inflation, Powell said Americans would suffer worse pain if the central bank failed to act and let inflation run out of control. In a tweet, Peter Schiff said this is a moot point. Inflation is already out of control, and the time for the Fed to have acted to prevent it without triggering a severe financial crisis has long since passed. We're going with Peter Schiff. Nevertheless, Powell continued to hold out hope for a soft landing, meaning that he thinks the Fed can defeat inflation without tipping the economy into a recession. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But despite his optimism, he confessed he really doesn't know the trajectory of the economy. I don't think anyone knows whether we're going to have a recession or not. And if we do, whether it's going to be a deep one or not, it's not knowable. This is the Fed. This guy's screwing with the levers of the Fed, okay, screwing with the levers of the economy, and says, I have no idea what's going to happen, which is an honorable thing to say. I'd rather him say that than, we got things under control when clearly they don't. But the Fed's problem, I disagree with Powell's assertion about a recession. I think it's a virtual certainty that the economy will spiral into a downturn, and I don't think it will be short and shallow. I think it will be deep and prolonged. I do too. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to conclude that the economy is already in recession. Now, look, I look around at the people that have jobs, okay, and like government jobs. Do you think someone that has a government job is going to lose their job because of a recession? I don't. And then you look at education, so colleges, secondary education. Do you think that there's going to see any meaningful decline in endowments or in employments? I mean, some of these schools, I think it was Harvard, has more administrators than they do students. I mean, do you think they're gonna? You look at charities. How many charities are there in the world? How many charities get funding from the federal government? Do you think they're going to lay off people? I mean, who's getting laid off? The people that work in corporate America? How many jobs in the United States now are not dependent on like China, are not dependent on like a company that operates, a multinational basically? And who concentrates just on the United States anymore? The people that are going to get hammered are small businesses, your retail. The people that can the least afford to get whacked are going to get whacked. It says, my pessimism is rooted in the fact that the U.S. economy is addicted to easy money. It is. It is addicted to artificially low interest rates and quantitative easing. You can't take an addict's drug away without sending them into withdrawal. As already noted, interest rates haven't been this high since 2007. At that point, the Fed was cutting rates due to the housing bust. The economy couldn't handle interest rates that high. Rates peaked at 5.25% in 2006. That precipitated the housing bust and ultimately financial crisis of 2008. Today, the Fed has pushed rates within 1% of that level, but there's a major difference between then and now. The bubbles are bigger. There's more debt. There's more malinvestment. If the extent of the bust is commensurate with the extent of the boom, we're in for a doozy. Like this argument, okay, you can agree with it or not. This argument actually dates back to 2007, 2008 and says you just papered over a problem. You never fixed it. Powell and company have backed themselves into a corner. They just don't know it yet, or more likely they haven't admitted to it yet. During an interview, Peter Schiff explained why he thinks the recession is going to get a lot worse. Now, that doesn't mean the Fed shouldn't be raising rates. They should be. They should have raised them a lot more than they have. The problem is they never should have cut them. That was the mistake. It was cutting rates. Raising them back up is really just acknowledgement of that mistake. But what happens is when the Fed raises rates, it uncovers all the problems that it created when it reduced rates. Because when it slashed interest rates to zero, it inflated a bubble economy and inflated with inflation. Quantitative easing was inflation. It's not good. I mean, based on that, it's the Real Deal has been writing some sweet articles lately. I've been paying more attention. Also, they don't paywall their staff or paywall their site, which I appreciate. Another class action lawsuit claims RealPage collusion. I think this is interesting. I was looking at a Twitter exchange between, I believe it was Darth Powell and this guy that kept being that was in my list. He was always talking about college housing was always like the best place to go, and that the economy wasn't on a bad trajectory, that everything was going to go fine. He seemed to be a shill. I stopped following him. I don't know his name, or I would tell you guys. But anyway, he blocked Jerome Powell, Darth Powell, on Twitter. It's fascinating. Prop tech company RealPage won't be able to turn the page on its software controversy anytime soon. A class action lawsuit filed by a University of Washington student, accused RealPage of colluding with student housing providers to inflate rent. Multifamily Dive reported. The lawsuit, filed last month, names a number of prominent multifamily landlords, including Greystar and Cushman and Wakefield. Now, I don't know. I need a little bit more information to know, like, in what way was this done? How was this done? The plaintiff alleges collusion in popular college towns, such as Ann Arbor and Gainesville. The lawsuit claimed operators had the ability to collaborate and track competitors' rents through the RealPage platform. Okay, so they're saying collusion because RealPage had an ability to say with some certainty what someone else was charging. So here's how that used to work when I was, younger. You literally pay somebody to call and say, "Hey, man, I want to rent your house because I'm going to school here. How much is it going to cost?" And they say, "Okay, it's going to be that." And you say, "Okay, well, thanks. I'll tell my roommates." And then you call someone else. Like, that's how you get the information. It says RealPage provided pricing information for student housing providers that allowed them to closely analyze their pricing in comparison to their competitors at a bedroom by bedroom level. And now, so this is college housing, which is different. It says landlords previously calculated student housing rents to get heads in beds for the school year, the suit claimed, before RealPage's platform allowed landlords to glean information from competitors. I'm telling you, this is exactly how you would have done it like 20 years ago. This isn't something new. Also, look, as a former property manager, when your rent is too high, literally no one applies. I mean, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. Like, if you've got an Airbnb right now and you're not renting it out, like, there's two things. One, maybe the market's oversaturated with Airbnbs, and two, you've got a pricing problem. Everything comes down to price. You want to sell a house? It's a pricing problem. It could be a presentation problem, but the presentation problem is second to pricing problem. Always. You don't want to believe it, by the way. You don't want to believe it. Like when I list a house and it doesn't sell fast, I look at myself and I'm like, man, I really thought that house. I mean, this is me personally. I really thought that house was worth that based on the houses I've seen. I'm pretty surprised. Now, that may be some bias creeping in. Anyway, RealPage told the outlet it strongly denied the allegations, but would not comment further on pending litigation. Well, that makes sense. Don't comment on pending litigation. This was a second class action lawsuit RealPage has faced in recent week. The company and 7 property management firms were accused last month of forming a cartel to artificially inflate apartment prices above competitive levels. We should look at that some point in time. I'm not going to look at it now. I'm going to do something. I'm going to write it down. It's funny. I got dust everywhere from the concrete cutting. So my keyboard's like dusty. Moving on. This was something that hit home for me. We'll talk about it now, and I want to talk about it to get it out there. This is overall, it's a fight about quality of life. Whose quality of life? If the question of if a property is there, a use of the property, say an industrial property, has been there for 50 years, and you come in and you decide you want to put houses next to it, should you be able to, if the industry is still operating? Let's go through this and see. It says Bradenton Sports Park Freedom Factory urge racing community to fight against urban sprawl. Look, I think that's fair. Like Bradenton Motorsports Park is a drag strip. We'll go over where it is. In the Freedom Factory, that's Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory. It's where he films, it has events. And like he's put a lot of money into it and put a lot of time into it and put a lot of effort into it. He may be being rewarded financially for it. I don't know his situation, but I do know that like the car culture is like, it's a good one. It's a positive one. Young fellows, young women, anybody that's interested in, turning a wrench on their own car, modifying it, they should be celebrated. The people that say, well, you're, harming the environment, or you're a hooligan, or give the people something to do. Does it cost money? Yes. But there's a reason to get a job so you can buy more stuff for your car. Let's get into it. It says county commissioners in Manatee County, Florida, are proposing the construction of 4,500 homes directly next door to Bradenton Motorsports Park and the Freedom Factory. Now, that is a lot of homes. It says the proposed 4,500 homes are outside the urban boundary line and would sit on what is now 2,700 acres of land. A fence with a maximum height of 25 feet and a noise abatement has been requested, along with the development project to deflect the sound from the race cars. We have a classic case of how racetracks die. People move in and they complain, said Garrett Mitchell, also known by his persona Cletus McFarland, at the Manatee County Planning Commission meeting. We're urban planning today. What we did 50 years ago was urban planning. We moved them out of town to prevent this exact issue. He's exactly right. And I've seen this happen with dirt track racing in St. Louis, dirt track racing in the St. Louis metro area. There was a racetrack. Oh man. Valley Park had a racetrack. That the argument there was that the emergency vehicles couldn't get underneath a railroad tunnel, so that's why that one closed. And they are building over there. The last time I saw, um, let's see, Peevely's still going, but I'm worried because 60 acres of land directly to the south of them is currently for sale. That's not good. Godfrey, Illinois was, I believe it was turned into a concrete mix factory or something. It didn't have a good end. There's lots of dirt tracks that have been reduced to nothing because the people move right next to the track and they complain about the noise and the dust, and then they have to go. Now this isn't a dirt track, but I mean it's an asphalt track, but the same issues occur. It says Braden Motorsports Park was founded in 1974 and is rich in drag racing history. Yes, it is. In fact, I don't even pay much attention to drag race. I've been to a few drag races, and we have Gateway here in St. Louis, but or Worldwide Technology Raceway. I don't want to. Anyway, great stuff. But I do know of Bradenton, and I'm not even a big, I'm not a big drag racing fan. It said the premier drag racing facility hosts some of the biggest events in the country, including the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals, U.S. Street Nationals, FL2K, and the upcoming 2023 Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. So this is Drag Illustrated, and they're going to have an event at Bradenton, and also let me put forth one other thing that may not be obvious. Like dirt track racing in St. Louis lasts from maybe October, maybe the beginning part of October. That's where it stops, and it starts right about April. And the reason why it stops is it rains and it's cold and nasty, and no one wants to sit outside. And so what happens is right around February, all the good local race car drivers, all the ones that are really like interested, they'll go down to Florida and race for the first month of the season because they race all year long there, which is nice. So like it's important for racing. Let's continue. It says it's very disheartening to have this come up after the upgrades both facilities have been undergoing the past couple of years. We've been working very hard to have two great facilities, not just for our national events, but also for our local events, said Victor Alvarez, Bradenton Motorsports Park track owner. Now, look, that guy has had to deal with a hurricane. I saw it on Cletus McFarland YouTube channel. You know, they had lights and signs and stuff fall down. It was bad. Mitchell recently purchased the oval track, which is now named the Freedom Factory. It was abandoned in 2017, but Mitchell has since restored the track that is home to many successful events. He has spent good money. I mean, they redid the track, parts of it that were messed up, a lot of painting. He put in bleachers. I mean, he's invested many thousands of dollars into this project just to have someone rezone an area that was not an issue is tough. We bring hundreds of thousands of people to Manatee County, explained Mitchell, on how the tracks boost the economy. I don't think the current plan they are proposing can protect the racetracks and their historic value. I agree with that because for an event, there's so many people down there. But then when an event ends, I mean, there's all kinds of traffic concerns, and people that are living in these 4,500 new homes are not going to want to put up with that. We've had a great impact on our local economy and our local car scene. We plan to fight as much as we can to prevent this from happening, said Alvarez. We know what can happen, and this can lead to if we get 4,500 homes built next to these two facilities. We're not going to go down without a fight. Yeah, I mean, essentially what will happen is they'll just be getting cited for noise or citing for, dirt or noise pollution, or they'll say that there's environmental issues. I mean, this is a bad thing. This is a bad thing. I am 100% on the side of Cletus McFarland, Braden Motorsports Park, Freedom Factory. I think it's a great thing that they did. I really do, and it's a shame that it might get taken away from them by government. That's the last article. Let's get to some tweets tonight. I'm not going to do that many of them. We're not running late, which is odd. Here we go. This is Andrea Rickrerer. It says she's responding to this article from Yahoo. It's actually from the street, but it's paywalled. So I did the tweet. I put the tweet in the link, and then if you guys want to go play around with the paywall, you can. It says, just put any shit in the headline to get a click, not even remotely the same circumstances. My God, 15 years ago, the housing market crashed under similar circumstances. I read the article. It's like you can't do two. I mean, how do I put it? You can't put more than one article. You can't read more than one before it goes to a payroll. At the end of the article, it says, well, it's not anything like 2008. That's in the last line of the article. Now, I did want to talk about this from the perspective of me. As you guys know, like I've tried really hard to not have clickbait. I've tried really hard to not do sensational things like, stunts, basically. I've tried to have just a straightforward YouTube channel where we talk about real estate, but you can see the numbers aren't good for me. I'm not able to bring in a lot of subscribers. I'm not able to get a lot of hours of view time. And I mean, it's bad. I can totally understand how businesses and everybody, how they see this and why they do clickbait and things like that. I mean, just on Google alone, if you write an article, let's say you write a blog post and no one's searching for it, it could be the best blog post in the world, but no one's searching for it. You're not going to get the numbers. So it's how things are set up now. You don't have to like it. It's just the way it is. Will I succeed based on, my quote unquote principles about this? Probably yes, because I'm just pigheaded and stubborn, and I'll just keep doing it. But it's not an easy path. I mean, an easier path would be to, like the easiest thing for me to do tonight would be to grift off of the Freedom Factory. Okay. Cletus McFarlane has way more than 1 million subs. If I could get like 3 people to watch the video of that part, I could probably pick up like 4 subscribers, maybe. But I'd have to be like Freedom Factory closing in all caps or something. And then I have to have a picture of me like with my hands on my head or like I'm crying. And people would watch it. I'll probably do it that way. No, I won't. I don't even think I'll put it up as the main part of the headline. In fact, I don't even know what the headline is for today. Let me look. Some real estate news, some Twitter and collusion rates, rents. Okay. We'll see. Okay. Let's move on. This is Genevieve Roche Dector. This is a meme that's been going around. You can see all these people. There's Reagan. There's Warren Buffett. There's George Bush the first. Says, and then I said, we'll stop inflation without crashing the market. There's not a lot of people that think that the market's going to be. I don't know if that's Buffett. It looks kind of thin at that picture. Look, I just don't see how this is going to be a soft landing. I also don't see how I don't know. I just don't. I don't see. Look, my perception is that the people that are going to get most hurt is not Wall Street, but Main Street, just as we took it on the chin in 2007, 2008. I mean, I think of it as a populist class warfare, significantly damaging the working class, the people that actually do things. You could see it during the pandemic. There were people that were called essential workers. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted to, but your plumbers, those people, they just had to go to work. Real estate agents, we just had to go to work. We weren't able to take off or work from home. Same thing with this. Look, Wall Street's out there. If Wall Street goes down, those people are smart enough to put puts, or should be, puts on the market. They make money when the market goes down. They make money when the market goes up. It's not hard to figure that out. But it's a question of who is the government. By the government, I mean the Fed. Who are they going to hurt to bring down inflation? They're going to hurt the people, not Wall Street. They know who cashes their checks. I said that wrong. They know who writes their checks. Moving on. I thought this was interesting. I don't know if it's going to show up right. I'm going to leave it. It's supposed to go for a minute. This is the UK housing market most unaffordable since the Victorian times. And you can see, like, we just went to 1920. You know, it was, and then, like, of course, the orange is unaffordable. The rest of the time is affordable. 1945, all of a sudden, unaffordable houses, post-war building boom. Now we're going up in the 1960s, 1965, 1970, all of a sudden up, and then way down. 1980, still affordable. Now all of a sudden, 85 went up. UK economic success inflates wages and poverty, or property. I'm sorry. But now in 2000, it's just up. It's unaffordable. It's unaffordable. It's unaffordable. It's been unaffordable since 2000. So the last 22 years in Great Britain have seen unaffordable home prices. That's not good for the people. Moving on, homes for sale. The world right now, realtors, anyone want to buy a house, the world right now is burning. See, that's the issue. Is the world burning? Like, is what I'm reading true? Because when I go out, I don't see it. I see people on the streets, but most of those people are homeless. Like, they're homeless because they've got issues. Our local governments have been loath to take care of those people. Somehow believing that it's your right to stand on the street and panhandle. I don't, it's not, it hasn't been traditionally, but anyway, you got that. But you talk to your friend, they haven't lost their job. They are upset about the inflation, but you don't have this huge amount of economic woe being reported. I think it's there. I mean, I think that when you see the credit card debt in the United States, I mean, it's like, what do you think those people are spending that money on? Credit card debt is typically people spending money on things they can't afford and hoping to be able to pay for it later. Look at the savings rates. The combination of low savings rates with high credit card debt is not a beacon of positive things to come. This was interesting. I did not read the opinion piece. But I did read this tweet from Aaron Lehman. It says, if the nation's central bankers had more foresight, it would not be so hard today for millions of people to achieve home ownership and a secure retirement. It's worse than Alan's letting on here. The Powell Fed had the data and sat on it. Not only did the Powell Fed sit on data showing that inflation was ripping in the first half of 2021, multiple Federal Reserve officials were exposed trading on their own accounts for pandemic profits. This has all been buried under the rug, of course. Yes, this is true and wrong. Wrong, unethical, and I believe that Congress and any member of the governing class should not be allowed to trade while they're in office or performing in their official capacities in government. But this is a pipe dream. This is a pipe dream. So I'm going to close that. It's going to go black here in a minute. So, what did we learn tonight? Well, I thought we learned an awful lot. We learned about people stealing deeds. We learned about the economy probably isn't going for a soft landing based, if you believe the same economists that I do. We We learned about maybe some collusion in rents for college towns. That's kind of fascinating. The Freedom Factory under attack. Had some fun with some tweets. Is it a great time to buy a house? If you need to buy a house, buy a house. I'm never going to say it's not a great time to buy a house. Just know what you're getting into. I think that's the part that freaks people out the most. With that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.